Today, we're going to talk about New Orleans Saints offense and Kellen Moore. We're going to have a conversation, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Happy Monday, the day after the day before. All right. Yesterday was the Saints-Rams game. Waking up early, okay, sunrise to get you this video out. Daylight savings time. Who the hell even knows what time it is, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. So let's talk about the Saints. Let's talk about Kellen Moore. Let's talk about the offense. So I've got a few things pulled up that I want to look at. First thing is just exactly how bad has the offense been. So watching it, it's been despicable. All right. Watching it, it has been no bueno. 15.3 points per game. We have 138 points forced on the year, which puts us lower than, or basically everybody, but higher than only the Raiders, the Titans, the Browns, and that's it. Okay, so fourth lowest point scored this season. As far as differential, we are at minus 105, second worst to the Tennessee Titans. Okay, this should be no surprise. The Titans are absolutely horrible, and that's the conversation of teams that we're in. All right, let's take a look at some more offensive metrics. This is updated as of after the game, so this is updated for the entire NFL, except for Arizona and Dallas, who play tonight. But if you look at success rate, we are 24th on offensive success rate, higher than Denver, the Raiders, Arizona. Well, Arizona hadn't played, but Tampa, Houston, Miami, Tennessee, and Cleveland. Now, success rate is not the only stat, but it is interesting. Some of these teams that you're above. EPA per play, we are 30th. All right, only above the Browns and the Titans. Again, if you look at points forced, pretty obvious who the four worst offenses in the NFL are pretty obviously the Raiders, the Browns, the Saints, and the Titans in some order. Titans are last, but the other ones you can kind of move around. Total EPA, the Saints are 30th, again only above the Browns and the Titans. EPA per pass, the Saints are 30th, only above the Browns and the Titans. EPA per rush, the Saints are 29th, only above the Raiders, Seahawks, Titans, and then us. Passing yards, Saints are 16th, but they're losing all the time, so that's a little skewed. Completion percentage, Saints are 17th with 65.71. Passing touchdowns, Saints are 28th, tied with Jacksonville and above Atlanta, Cleveland, and Tennessee. Rushing yards, the Saints are 24th. Rushing touchdowns, the Saints are 30th, only above, you guessed it, Tennessee and the Raiders. ADOT, average depth of target, Saints are 11th. Again, when you're losing all the time, this kind of changes. Sack percentage, the Saints are 13th, so not bad. And then, yeah, so there you go. Okay, now, I also pulled up some articles from the first couple of years of Dan Campbell's tenure in Detroit. Now, I want to make this really clear. I'm not saying that Kellen Moore is going to end up being Dan Campbell. I'm not saying that, hey, bury your head in the sand, this will all work out. I just want to kind of show an interesting parallel of the conversation that was happening during Dan Campbell's first couple of years. We remember how bad it was. I've shown it on this channel a million times. Dan Campbell went 0-11 his first season before getting a win, and they were embarrassing losses. Specifically a home loss, I think it was like week 8 of that year, to the Philadelphia Eagles, where it was like 46-6. I mean, it was a disgusting loss, okay? So I'm just going to read some of these articles and we'll kind of talk about it. This is from October 10th, 2022. Is Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell in over his head? Lions head coach Dan Campbell is 4-17-1. So this is in his second season. I tried to find some kind of spread out across his tenure, but Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell is 4-17-1 as the head man of the Detroit Lions. Is he officially in over his head after a Week 5 loss? When Campbell was hired as the new head coach, many across the NFL quickly attached to him. He's a true showman, blah, blah, blah. Their first season went about as well as expected. It took them nearly the entire season to notch their first win as they finished with a 3-13-1 record. They ranked 25th in scoring and 31st in defense. In his first season, his team was blown out 5 times, losing by at least 10 points in those losses. Okay? In 2022, the Lions start off 1-4 through 5 games. Now, this is first year of Ben Johnson as the head coach. So, what was interesting is that I think it's this one, is in one of them, Dan Campbell, so for you that don't know, Dan Campbell in his first year, he was calling plays. he was calling offensive plays, which is kind of interesting. Like when you think about the Lions now and you think about all this stuff, but Dan Campbell was calling offensive plays. And there was a specific play where it was like 3rd and 14 or something, and Dan Campbell called a draw and punted. And Lions fans deserve it. I mean, went nuts, right? And the conversation was, is he in over his head? Now, we all know that Dan Campbell changed a lot of things, all right? So he changed, obviously he quit calling plays, brings in Ben Johnson, bring in coordinators, brings in an analytical team, and things eventually do change. It's worth noting that in that game that all hell broke loose and he called the draw and whatever, Tim Boyle was the starting quarterback. All right, Jared Goff was hurt, and Tim Boyle was in. So this one's from November 15, 2021. So this is his first season. Is Lions head coach Dan Campbell ready for this? Is Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell in over his head? Is he ready to be a head coach? After Sunday's game, it's fair to talk about out loud. All right, the Lions got boat raced by the Eagles, and Campbell said the team wasn't prepared, and it was his fault. What do you mean the team isn't prepared? Your only job is to prepare this team to play the game. The performance would make you feel as if the information they used to prepare wasn't taken in accurately, it wasn't dispersed accurately. I'm not saying Campbell is dumb by any means. I'm saying maybe Dan Campbell doesn't know how to prepare his team at this point. That's concerning if true. It's kind of interesting, right? Because now what we know of Dan Campbell is that he is as good as it gets, right, about having his team prepared. The Detroit Lions are known for coming into a game ready to roll. Interesting. All right. Let's keep going here. Keep going. Let's see. All right. So that's that one. And then this one is in 2022. How few wins, this is the second season, how few wins would it take for Dan Campbell to get fired in 2022? All right. So that's what this article is. Now I'm going to link these in the, so you can go read them, whatever. And the reason I put that in there is that, or the reason we're talking about that, is that I always mention this, that when you're in a losing streak or you're in a rebuild or things aren't going correctly, it's very natural to look for that boogeyman. Who's the problem, right? Who do I need to fire? Who do we need to look to make this thing fixed and to make this thing okay and to get better and to get back on track? Is it Gail Benson? Is it Mickey Loomis? Is it Kellen Moore? Who do I got to fire? Okay, I'm on the subreddits. I need to let it rip. Who is my vitriol going towards? Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, and I've had a ton of comments in the last 12 hours with people saying, "Hey, James, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You dastardly bitch." I've had a lot of people ask, how do you feel about Kellen Moore? You said he was going to be a good coach. You like Kellen Moore. What are you, some kind of dumbass? And to that I say, listen, we're 9 weeks in. Unfortunately, we are still in the exploratory phase. Unfortunately, we are still in the do nothing phase. Unfortunately, we are in the sit back, watch this vomit-inducing mess every single week for 3 hours, be miserable, and then we're on to the next one. And we're watching, and we're seeing, and we'll figure it out later. Kellen Moore has got a lot to figure out, just like Dan Campbell had a lot to figure out in Detroit. And Dan Campbell, if you go back and you read these articles and you watch Detroit in his first year and second year, they are a hot mess. And he is making mistakes all over the shop. And I'm not going to lie to you, he does look in over his head. I went and researching this video, I went and watched back some of these clips, like the draw on third down. Shocking to watch. He absolutely does look like he is in over his head. He doesn't look anything like the current version of Dan Campbell. And he figured it out. Now, he absolutely could have not. All right? He absolutely could have folded, could have not figured it out, could have been stubborn, could have not grown, could have not done whatever. The team could have not bought in. There's a lot of different ways this could have happened. It's not always going to work out perfect. But on one hand, fans were right to raise questions. On the other hand, it was up to Dan Campbell to fix the issue. And that's where we are. It is absolutely correct for Saints fans and analysts and me, the face of the franchise and the best to ever do it, to raise questions. But unfortunately, the answer is not fire him. I've seen enough through 9 games. Just like with these rookies, like with Tyler Shuck. I thought Shuck was okay against the Rams. Some good moments, some bad moments. I thought he was fine. I thought at the beginning, looked like it was a lot. I would say through the first half, there was moments where it's like he seemed like and you never know. It's human nature. He might just be so amped up. It's his first NFL start, right? Who the hell who even knows? But I thought he settled into the game, and I thought as the game went on, he got better. And that's really all you can ask from a first start is that, okay, it's going to be tense at the beginning, but just get better. And I thought he got better. I thought he was fine. A lot of the times, the first start, you want to see, can they exist? Can they do whatever? Can they physically play? I thought he was fine. We're somewhere in between building the statue and trading, right? So I thought he was okay. If I was given a grade, it'd be a C. Bright spots, low spots, whatever. All right. Just like with Tyler Shuck. It's impossible to know after one start if he's going to be good or bad. There's nothing to do. Quincy Riley, Danny Stutzman, all these young guys, there's nothing to do. We don't have to make a decision of, are we going to give this player a 5-year, $100 million contract, or are we going to cut him? This team is a bad team. This team is rebuilding to the max. In the next 24 hours, hopefully we see some trades come in and more draft capital. All right? Some of our best players have completely lost their powers. This is as rebuild gets. And all you can do is chart your notes, analyze what's happening, and then we'll see in the draft. We'll see in the offseason. And then we'll do the same thing next year. Now, Kellen, much like Dan Campbell, he's got to fix some obvious stuff. Namely, the beginning of games. 3 and outs can't be a thing. 4 of our first 5 drives were 3 and outs. I get it. It's against the Rams. I get it. It's a rookie quarterback. I get it. It's a bad spot. Rams off of a bye. I totally get all that. But at a certain point, this offense has to exist. I don't care about losing. What I care about is nonstop 3 and outs, scoring 15.3 points per game. That's what I care about. At some point, whether it's against the Panthers or against the Falcons or the Dolphins or the Titans or whoever, we're going to have to start seeing some offensive success. And right now, offensive success for this team, as sad as it is scoring more than 20 points. We got to see that. We have to see some ability to run the football. We can't be, we can't have our leading rusher be whoever stumbles into 20 yards. 50 yards, you might as well be Barry Sanders, where this team's at right now. And it's time to watch. And it's time to see how Kellen fixes this. How does he adjust? How does he make good on this? I have faith that Kellen Moore can pivot, can evolve, just like Dan Campbell did. During these articles, during the time, 2021, 2022, whatever, it would have been insane to double down, triple down, quadruple down on Dan Campbell. With the way the Lions are playing, he's 4-17-1, okay, through 22 games. Think about that. 22 games, you're 4-17-1, getting smoked on the weekly. As bad news Bears, or bad news Lions, as I should say. I've got faith that Kellen can figure things out. Even if it takes 22, 23, 24, 25 games. The conversation is not, should we move on from Kellen Moore? Should we fire Kellen Moore? The conversation should be, Can he fix this? And he's going to get every bit of 3 years to fix this. The conversation of like, is he the right guy? All of that, that doesn't even happen until year 2. So if you're already questioning and saying, like, is he the right guy? Is he this? You're ahead of yourself. Back it up and buckle up, Buttercup. And again, I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just as alarmed as all of you are. I'm just as alarmed that we're scoring 15 points per game. I'm just as alarmed that we're having 3 and outs nonstop. Okay? But I realize what this is. I realize this is a nasty, stinky rebuild to the effing maximum. This is as rebuild as it gets. And we got to let the rebuild take place. It sucks. It's not any fun. It's unenjoyable. But it is what it is. And remember, some silver lining. With a rebuild like this, the only way you can do what Detroit did is if you allow the culture, the identity, the whatever to exist. It is not by firing people. It is not by swapping people in and out. It is not by relocating the team to Seattle. It is not by any of that. It's by planting the seeds and letting them grow. Okay? The only way you can do this. If the Lions, think about the decision. At 4-17-1, if the Lions would have fired Dan Campbell, what would have happened to the franchise? And honestly, they had every right to say, this ain't going to work. This is not going to work for us. Just like right now, the Saints have every right, and Saints fans have every right to sit back and say, this ain't going to work for me, brother. I'm going to need more than 15 points per game. I'm going to need somebody to figure it out. And now it's up to Kellen Moore and his coaching staff to figure it out. Just like in the second year where all of a sudden Ben Johnson comes in, all of a sudden there's changes. There may be changes with Brandon Staley. There may be changes with Doug Nussmeier or whoever. I don't know. I'm just naming the coordinators. There may be more changes coming. Offensively, there may be changes coming with the wide receiver room, the running back room, the tight end room, the defense. I mean, all over the place. Enjoy the journey, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't easy. All right? It ain't easy at all. No doubt about it. But this is the rebuild. Now, the silver lining playbook I was talking about was that when you are this bad, it makes it easier to do things like be sellers at the deadline. It makes it easier to do things like acquire draft capital. Because you're not playing that in-between of like, well, we are at 8 wins. If we push a little harder, maybe we get to 10 wins. Nah. All that's gone pecan. All that. There is no, like, hesitation. We know what we're doing for at least the next 2 years. We know at least for the next 2 years we are rebuilding. So any aging players, any bad contracts, any, free agents that are about to walk, trade, cut, release, whatever. Take your lumps now. We are taking the lumps now. And we're going to do it together. And I'll be here every step of the way. Can't stop, won't stop. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your Monday. I will see you in the next video.